I was sitting here like, I want to get back into podcasting. And one of them is going to be called Barcraft Conversations. So this is not officially a Barcraft Conversation. This is more of a catching up with entrepreneurs, business people within my circle to see what's going on and just talk real stuff. Changa is a mentor, a confidant. The other day, you posted something about 1 + 1 = 3.
Just in case Barcraft Conversation blow up. OG, the first Barcraft is me. You see the face, right? You see the people, you see what it is, all right.
We're going to make a drink. We're going to do some bourbon and ginger. We have our drinks made, so we good.
Yeah.
Earlier, I was talking about the 1 + 1 = 3 and getting into business and making choices. I've been talking to people about relationships and how important it is to set certain boundaries. Lately, we've been running around looking at locations. A lot of times when people get into personal and business relationships, they don't set the boundaries up front. They cross them and they're not knowing that they cross them and they try to go back. And
Sometimes you can't.
If you would have just took the time and figure out whatever agreement it is, versus if it's business, personal, or whatever, you can sort of figure it out and move forward and just continue to build a solid foundation.
Things you're hitting on right there, right? So number one, you can only build with somebody who's in the building space. Mm-hmm. And that means that they have to be a certain amount of risk tolerant. If you're going to create something, we have this saying that we go by, which is if we both agree to involve ourselves in growth, none of us have a right to comfort. Comfort don't sit at no tables together. They don't fuck with each other. Yeah. So you have to so that's first. Now, what does uncomfortable mean? Uncomfortable might mean, a perfect example, my son just got his first professional level job since he acquired his skills, right? Gotcha. And I told him, I said, listen, take 6 months. Don't spend no money. Ooh. Let me give you what you basically need. I'm willing to invest in you. It's my son. Yeah. Let me give you what your base needs for 6 months. Let your check go in the bank completely untouched for 6 months. It's uncomfortable because you already was making a low salary and making it, whatever.
Now
now you have it. It's more uncomfortable to have it and not do it, especially when you've been in a season of seeding, like what you were just talking about, putting the podcast stuff away and then coming back. That's the up and down. That's the wave. Yeah. I have to do a wintering. I haven't been in the street. Yeah. My barber even commented. I just happened to see him the other day. He was like, "Yo, you look like a homeless man. Like, what is going on? I've been made a pact with myself. I'm only going to do the grooming and all that, and the money that it takes, and the update wardrobe and all that when I'm in the street. It's a service to my image that I'm doing. Yeah. But when I'm in the grunt work, I'm working in the basement, and I'm doing just running. I'm doing the grunt work. I'm not doing that.
And money, time, and resources
so you can look at yourself in the mirror. Yeah. Other people don't feel that way. Maybe you work in an office. Maybe you whatever. That might not apply to everybody. But the point is, there's a wintering that needs to happen where you reseed, recession, and then you come back out. You pop out in the springtime. When is your springtime? When is your flowering time?
Spring forward.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Otherwise, but you can't spring forward if you don't get that recession piece. That whole piece, you have to realize, where are you in the process? Are you have you spent the time in the seeding place where you're ready to go out and take that risk and be uncomfortable? Are you really ready for that? And are you with somebody who's, to borrow another relationship kind of phrase, are you equally yoked?
As an entrepreneur, I really enjoy that part of the time, because to me, that really starts showing me what a person's made of. Yeah. Because we all want people to level up and elevate. One of the hardest things is figuring out what is this person going to become once we get to springtime. You never know what this flower is going to actually bloom into. That's right. And that's one of the hardest parts, because you took all this time, like you said, and started putting everything in order, seeding and watering and you don't see anything, then suddenly, like you said, the spring starts getting warm, it starts to growing and blooming. And then this is like, is this what I signed up for from the beginning? And sometimes you don't know, you have an inkling and you hoping that this becomes a great garden.
But the question then, when you're in that space of hoping, is this an educated guess? Because hope is you guessing.
Yeah.
But was it an educated guess?
Yeah.
Have I seen this person in spring before? Have I been around them long enough to see the entire cycle? You know what I'm saying? Am I seeing indicators?
Yeah.
Back to the top of the conversation, what boundaries have I set for myself so I can know, well, if this starts going past this, and this, I know it's time for me to start packing up.
Yeah.
So that I can take my lumps, because you lose, you win, you win, you lose. Yeah. But the point is to mitigate your losses
100%.
and set some boundaries where you know, like, okay. I never forget, I had a young lady who I hope she's doing well, but she's the only girlfriend that like dumped me in my life. And I'll never forget, of course, because she's the only one. So, and she didn't dump me because I wasn't looking well or she didn't like me or whatever. She just had a boundary. And I never met a woman other than my mother that had a boundary like this. She was working at I won't say her name, but she was working at the downtown in the harbor. Okay. And I had a car, like I'm 17, 18, something like this. I got a car. I'm like,
Yeah.
The 90s, right? I get there late to pick her up. She done left. She got off at this time. She left at that time. You hear me? Yeah. But she was out on the bus stop. So I whipped around and pulled up on the bus stop. One of her workmates was like, oh, she went walking over to the bus like she does every night when she gets off.
She's not, yeah.
She wasn't playing. Yeah. And she told me before, she said, don't be late. So I whipped around to the bus stop like, my bad. She was like, oh, okay. I'll get in this time, but the next time I won't. It wasn't a week later. Because I was impressed in the moment, but I hadn't really absorbed
her boundary.
And that's another thing. Like, you got to tell people and show people on a regular basis what your boundary is. And the truth is, that's not a problem. That's not the cut off. Oh, you did it once and cut off. No, it shouldn't be. Yeah. Especially when it's not something that's like
intentional.
It's not intentional. It's just, it's a place where the person is weak. I was weak with punctuality at that time. Man, it was a week went by. I was supposed to be there to pick her up. She wasn't there. I whipped around to the bus stop. 5 minutes now. We're not talking about a half an hour. We talking 5 minutes.
That's sort of like a good grace period.
Bro, I whipped around to the bus stop. She was there. I was like, come on. She was like, I'm not getting in there.
Ooh, she showed you the boundary. And that taught you a lesson.
I'm 53, bro.
Yeah, she taught you the lesson.
I'm 53, bro. That's 35 years ago. I'm still thinking about that.
That's real.
But here's the thing. You have to have your boundary and know what it means to you. Okay. You have to communicate your boundary.
100%.
To like reasonably. And sometimes it got to be reinforced multiple times because people don't get stuff on the first time. That's unfair to think they're getting it the first time.
It's like baseball.
Yeah.
Like, you got a couple strikes.
Couple strikes. But then you have to enforce your boundary. Yeah. So that's the third piece. You have to enforce it. And I think she really liked me. Yeah. Because of the way, that we got together. I think she really liked me. We did not go out another time like nothing else. I called her for a month. Yeah. My bad. Like, okay, I get it. She's like,
too late.
And I think that she deprived herself, of course. I think she deprived herself, but at the same time, I never underestimated somebody's boundaries.
Like you said, you don't cut somebody off because we also have to keep in mind that we also have to be
humans
and adjust to certain things because life isn't perfect. Stick firm to your beliefs and reinforce those situations. Now, setting boundaries, there are certain things that are just deal breakers.
Right.
They're deal breakers, like you said, pack your stuff up, it's time to degress and go home. Like, you break this boundary, and it's like, that's not super serious.
Yeah, you might get 3 strikes on that one.
Right.
Some other ones,
You like,
yeah, nah. I'm trying to get you. I'm trying to cut you before you finish making a mistake.
yeah. It goes back into being able to communicate and talk to people, like you said, express what those boundaries are, reinforce those, and saying, look, we didn't really, maybe we didn't discuss this as a boundary of mine,
Right.
but as we move
Maybe it didn't. Maybe I just discovered it.
right.
Maybe I just discovered it, right? Because this actually goes into like, things like icks. I might have just discovered an ick. You know what I mean? Like you just did something funky, like whatever, and I'm like, like I don't know,
Yeah.
I have a responsibility to communicate that to you and be like, listen, I didn't know this before, but you do this thing, and that shit is,
Yeah.
right? So that might be something that we give 3 strikes on.
One of the other things that you've talked about, and you being in community, and as we mature and level up, you get into a relationship and you may set certain boundaries, and as time goes on, life changes, you're willing to take certain risks. Now it's like, I'm not so much taking those risks anymore, and you adjust, and you still have to be able to communicate, because now everything started out on one level, and now you're on a whole different plateau of where you were.
And where you want to be.
And that goes into Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And long as the basic needs are being met, a lot of people can adjust. But if those basic needs aren't being met,
Basic needs change over time, right? And just like anything, right? We know that the human beings develop in cycles of 7 years, right? You 0 to 7, everything is a sing song and a play and a game and whatever, right? When you 7 to 14 is when that law and order comes in. Like, you be here at this time, don't go here. Like, I expect you to respect the boundaries that's been set. But then when you 14 to 21, that's a whole different thing. Like, I expect you to be able to manage relationships. I expect you to be able to see somebody, read the room, buddy.
well, we talk about that a lot.
Yeah.
That's going to be a big thing in barcraft conversation, because as a bartender, you have to read the room.
Bro.
Continue.
But we know that there's cycles, right? So why wouldn't there be cycles in your relationships?
Yeah.
Of course there's gonna be cycles in your relationships. So when I first met you, we was hanging out and all we did was do these couple things.
Yeah.
But then we started doing business. So now I have a different expectation. If you late to the bar, I'm be like, all right, nigga, I'm past you 3 drinks. Like, you gotta catch up. No consequence.
Right.
You know what I mean? However, if I'm sitting with a client for 30 minutes before my partner gets here with the presentation, it's different. Because we're trying to do something, there's something else at stake. So that's one way that things change as relationships evolve, right?
Definitely.
But then there's other things that's not so concrete, right? And you have to be okay with communicating that. And communicating doesn't just mean saying it.
Yeah.
Communication means repeating yourself in different ways and from different angles, making people understand the why behind it, making people understand the emotional side of it for you, and understanding why, making people understand, what I want to say is investing in the relationship,
Right.
in a way that you're endeavoring and trying hard to make people understand why why you feel the way you do. You know what I mean? Because if people have context, they're more likely to accept you. But if they don't have context and it's like just something random, they're like, yo, you making me do something different on the random for you. Like, what you trying to test me or something? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so it does involve a lot, but it also depends on, well, how important is the relationship to you? How important is it for you to go forward with this relationship? If we just drinking buddies,
Right. It's
just not that serious. It really isn't that serious,
Yeah.
you know. More things come at stake, and so you have to be constantly kind of gauging this stuff and be able to have enough open communication with your people where you can just really say how you feel and really say what's behind it, because it's not about, you hear a lot on the internet, people just, when you say something, people supposed to just do it, or people supposed to just, if they love you, not that shit is not, none of that is real.
That sounds so finite.
It's such like a domination type culture.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, you treat me this way because I said so. Like, bro, like, that's not, what is that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where do you get that from?
We've come a long way from a community base that I say we are supposed to be in. It's just like this whole globalization thing, and people trying to figure out like, how can we be the best? But we're a global economy, and certain places have certain resources and just do certain things better.
Right.
A lot of people don't really understand what it takes to accomplish certain tasks. In theory, things sound great.
Right.
It sounds perfect in the world of online and social media. It all sounds great, but as an entrepreneur, we like taking certain risks that everybody's not accustomed to and doing, because we just view the world in a different way. There's no one-all solution to any problem. There's more than one way to do things.
To do anything and everything. Yeah. And that kind of goes back to the beginning of the conversation when we're talking about due diligence, right? Anything that you can talk about, any industry, any concept has a system underneath it. Even if we're at opposite ends of a spectrum on a certain issue, that issue has, at some point, we're going to agree.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you like all the way over here, I'm like all the way over there. I'll be like, but gravity. We do agree on gravity, right? Like, okay, so what's the next level up that we agree on? We agree on this too, and that too, and okay. So we find the point of divergence. Where is it that you start going this way and I go that way? And we understand each other's point of divergence and why it happens. And then we say, okay, so boom, either, but that doesn't mean we're going to agree.
Yeah, sometimes you have to agree to disagree.
Correct.
And that's perfectly fine, because it's nothing wrong with not seeing eye to eye on every point. But that's not the overall mission and goal of what we're trying to accomplish. It might be something minute. It's like, it could go either way, but we have to still accomplish the mission, the goal.
That's the piece right there. Do we have to? Because some people are like, I really only was with this shit because this. Now you have what I call a covert contract being revealed. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, I was really in it for this right here. That's really why I was here. Nobody knew that. No. We were all, because of the thing that's on the marquee. Like, the thing says this. Like, that's why we were here. You were here you was chasing that one. Or you were getting a free meal on your way to whatever, or, whatever people, you never know what people are, what motivates people to put, especially in groups. That's really the problem with groups. But again, once the honesty gets to a certain level, I'll share something a little bit private, but I have a sister, a lady who I really loved a lot. Like, me, I have plenty of platonic relationships in the community.
You can't love them all.
Yeah, you can't love them all. I have plenty of platonic relationships in my community. And, the one sister communicated to me, she was going through a tough time. And I said, look, why would I be here if you wasn't, I'm trying to encourage her. I'm like, why would I be hanging around with you if you weren't a winner? Like, I don't hang around with losers. Like, that's, what I'm saying? That, like, there's going to be, And she said to me, something that let me know that she thought I was hanging around because I thought that we was going to be intimate at some point. And the shit hurt me in a way that I didn't know I could get hurt like that, to be honest.
Yeah.
I didn't know I could get hurt like that, to be honest. I was like,
because it's sort of like, because that wasn't what your intention and agreement. And it's like,
that wasn't the agreement. That wasn't my intention. I never said nothing like that. And the thing was like, wow, you just made me understand that the reason that you were indulging in our relationship.
It's almost like you think you holding a carrot over my head that does not exist. And now I'm hurt because you've belittled what I thought that we,
You shrunk it down.
And I was just like, dang, so you telling me that you were only doing this because you thought I did this, and that's how much you think of me as a person.
Yep, correct.
And that's hurtful, and that's hard to walk back.
Yeah.
That's very hard because it's not about that, but I think that gets into a lot of misconceptions about communities and relationships between men and women.
Yeah, man.
And men, I believe, are, when it comes to a lot of stuff, a little bit cut and dry and simple when it comes to certain stuff. It's just like...
Because we have to be.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think that's an absolute fact. Mm-hmm. Men are very much more straightforward and more simple. Mm-hmm. Mainly because it just takes so much bandwidth to hold all the spaghetti. I say like this: men are waffles, like and each little box got its own thing, and women are spaghetti. Everything's touching everything, like and I absolutely know that nature is more spaghetti than waffles. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But men are more simple creatures because we have to spend so much energy in a focused, concentrated ways inside of one little box. Mm-hmm. So we're much more likely, and the world is much more cruel to us in terms of giving you immediate course feedback and correction. Like, we get more no's about everything from the time we're children then it's a million different things you can add. The layer of poverty, the layer of education, the layer of blackness, the layer of spirituality, all of these ways that we show up, that the greater society that values low risk, right? It values high security. The greater society values consistency evenly like this, when we know life is not that. We just talked about life is this. The greater society values compliance, obedience. No little boy is that.
Never.
From jump.
Climbing up trees, jumping off.
Correct.
Everything.
Correct. No small humans are really that, right?
Not at all.
But as the pressure starts to get applied, women tend to comply easier than boys do. And so boys are going to be vilified more. They're going to have more penalties. I guarantee you, as an artist and an entrepreneur and whatever, I have experienced way more no's in my life, things that I thought up and wanted to do and wanted to go and whatever, than my sister, who grew up in the same household as me. It's not even. It's nowhere near even. It's just the nature of things, and it's fine. But it doesn't mean that we don't have to take that into consideration as we're all moving through this world, trying to live a better life and adjust. At this point, I see the drink is done. Oh, yeah.
So the drink is done. So we're going to end this drink at that. Yes. We're going to end this episode there. There was a lot of jewels being dropped. I need to catch up. But thank you for taking the time and coming out with me, because I appreciate you, brother. Like,
always, bro.
It's great. Like I said, Barcraft Conversations is coming. So we're diving into developing a bunch of different podcasts. And I appreciate your time and your busy day of travels. Of
course, bro.
Got a lot of amazing other things that we'll talk about off camera. And we'll get back at you.
Yeah.
So we're going to check you later. So check us out. Anything you want to say before we sign off?
The hustle never stops. Never.
Cheers.
Cheers.